Familiarity breeds contempt.
What a day it is, man. We're in Pittsburgh, baby. Come on, we got yellow end zone. It's going to be a great day.
For the second time in 3 weeks, Pittsburgh and Cleveland would meet again. This time at Acrisure Stadium, where the Steelers have won 20 straight regular season games versus the Browns.
We got a hunt today. Let's go eat.
Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
It's been 36 years since the Browns swept the Steelers in a season series, and they were looking to do just that in Week 14.
Hey, remember one thing, man. Execution fuels emotion. Yo, technique, balling out, everything else will come. 60 minutes in the AFC North. What's better than that? What's better than being in the North, fellas? This ain't a get-back game. This ain't a revenge game. This is the next one.
For Coach Tomlin and the team, the focus wasn't on revenge.
It's about consistency of performance for us. This is not about get back for us. This is about get better.
Here we go. This pass is caught and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's hit that sack. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi everybody, welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. Week 14 marked Pittsburgh's fourth straight AFC North matchup. And as the Steelers prepared to host the Browns, Coach Tomlin reminded his team often it was a get right, not get back game. Either way, Pittsburgh came away with a much-needed victory over the Cleveland Browns, despite not having George Pickens, who missed his first game in his career. For more on that, let's welcome in Bob Pompeani, who's standing by with Coach Tomlin. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. Steelers coming off a big win at home, 27-14 over the Cleveland Browns. Coach Tomlin's here to talk about it. And first off, let's get into the George Pickens situation. He did not play last week. What is his status this week, and how proud were you of some of the guys who had to step up in his absence?
First with George, he was getting a little post-practice work on Thursday and experienced a little tightness in his hamstring. We exercised an abundance of precaution on Friday. We thought it was a minor thing. We thought we could work him up pregame and get a sense of how many snaps he could absorb and then kind of go from there and then really kind of deal with it on the other side of the game. It became evident the closer we got to game time, it was probably a little bit more than that. And prior to kickoff, we decided to deactivate him after the game. We were able to get an MRI, and it is probably a little something more than that. And so he probably won't play this week, leaning in on the subsequent weeks, getting ready to go. Again, in the same spirit, not letting a minor problem become a major problem is kind of the posture that we're taking. The flip side of that is it provided opportunity for others. And as we've talked about many times during team development and through the season, I've been really impressed with this collective. Their ability to step up when called upon. Plays are coming from a variety of places. I'm so proud of Scotty Miller and what he was able to do in game, Van, but everyone, Ben, Skoranek. We got a real nice collective, a group that's willing to put their hand in the pile, a group that works hard during the course of game prep, and they position themselves to play well by the way that they work and perform during the course of the work week.
It was one of those games where it seemed like it needed some sort of spark, and once again, your defense, which leads the NFL with 28 takeaways, stepped up. An unlikely interceptor in that Keanu Benton, but afterwards he said something interesting about all the film work he does. Explain how that works and why it was important for him that day, resulting in the big pick.
People run a lot of screens against us trying to quell our rush, whether it is our four-man rush or our blitz posture. And so we've done a really nice job just preparing for those circumstances in which it might occur in all parties involved. The coverage people, the rush people, particularly the interior rushers. You get savvy interior rushers, they can destroy a screen before it develops. And boy, he's sharp in that area. He's a very aware young guy. He's starting to log a totality of career snaps now that allows him to look beyond his assignments and more about what's going on around him. And I think it's reasonable to expect more dynamic playmaking from him the more he plays. He's got a lot of talent. He's gaining experience, and we're starting to see the fruit of both.
Landon Roberts, that play doesn't count as a, quote, turnover, but it did turn over the game. And the thing about that play is he seems to know exactly where plays like that are happening. He said so afterwards. He said he had seen that play before. That was an explosive play. It also led to a short field, and again, you guys took advantage.
Landon is a veteran guy, and that's what I was talking about when I was talking about Benton. Landon's played so long, man, that he's not worried about his assignments. he gets a call, he quickly diagnoses that call, and he spends the remainder of the time prior to the snap communicating with others and digesting things that he's looking at. They had a wide receiver, number 81, that carried the run game fight, and I saw him recognize 81 in his positioning, and man, he just triggered. He's able to gather pre-snap information, diagnose it, and take the calculated risk associated with being great. And that's how you make plays like that, 4th down and 1 in the backfield. It's a risk component to it, but it's really not. When you have experience, you can absorb information like offensive structural formation, positioning of certain players, and those are the things that he's able to do routinely, and certainly going to need it this week dealing with the likes of Mr. Barkley.
You refer to Mr. Barkley. I wonder how many people on the other side of the ball are referring to Mr. Hayward. Based on what he's been able to do at his age, 8 sacks now, he's got 88.5 in his career. You don't see that from defensive linemen. He's closing in on some big names on that. 35 years of age, and yet here he is.
Yeah, the big names you mentioned, that's just the fruit of continual labor, man. He's been at it at a high level for a long time, and so you start getting in neighborhoods where you have some interesting names, but I don't think anybody that's been around him for any significant period of time is surprised by the conversation or the production. There's a such thing as football justice, and he is deserving of it. He checks all the boxes, not only in terms of talent and approach to business, but leadership, day-to-day work habits, you name it. He is a blueprint for a lot of young players, man. Young guys like Benton, man, get an opportunity to see what their aspirations look like day in and day out, and then it's an asset to a lot of people.
No question about it, and the Steelers now are going to need Mr. Hayward and everybody else to step up. This is a good Eagles team that's won 9 games in a row, and they're 11-2, looking for maybe the number 1 seed in the NFC. When we come back, head coach Mike Tomlin will talk about the task that is Philadelphia. Missy, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. And for Pittsburgh, they can clinch a playoff spot with a win on Sunday or losses by both the Dolphins and the Colts. Coming up later in our show, Merrill Hodge hits the telestrator to explain why the Eagles' O-line is the engine behind their run game. The 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show will be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Just a little over 300 miles separate the cities of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Despite the close proximity, these two teams don't play often, and Sunday will actually mark the first time the Steelers and Eagles both enter a game with 10-plus wins on the season. For more on everything you need to know about this year's Phillies squad, let's go back to Bob and Coach. Guys.
Missy, thank you very much. Tall assignment coming up with Philadelphia. Saquon Barkley. All you need to do is say Saquon Barkley, Coach, and that's exactly what you need to know about them. It seems like everything runs through him, whereas before maybe it was Jalen Hurts or whatever. Now it's him specifically. Talk about his season. He's embarking on maybe Eric Dickerson type of numbers.
It's no question. He needs no endorsement from me. All you got to do is turn the tape on. He's just had some unbelievable games and highlight real plays. That backwards jump over that defender. I've been in football all my adult life, and I've never seen anything remotely similar to that. And so that just speaks to the unique territory that he's in. He's always been really talented. He's in a good system of offense. He's with a quarterback that's got some mobility and takes care of the ball. He's got some dangerous eligibles on the perimeter. When you hide him in that collective, that's how you end up being on pace for conversations like the single season rushing record. They're a dynamic collective anyway, without him. But the acquisition of him has really been significant, and that's the reason why they're winners of 9 straight, certainly.
But he may get the attention. There's a lot of other guys on that offense that get attention. They got 2 very good wide receivers, tight end, and of course Jalen Hurts. And he was a second-round pick. I'm sure you scouted him, looked at him. Were you surprised he went in the second round, and are you surprised with how he's translated to this level of quarterback play?
I'm not surprised he went in the second. Between he and Tua, there was some competition there in Tuscaloosa. I think both guys have proven why there was competition in Tuscaloosa. They're both very capable NFL quarterbacks. I remember being at Minka's Pro Day, And oftentimes I ask a guy to introduce me to a young dynamic player that I'll be back to scout in years to come. And when I mentioned that to Minka, man, there was zero hesitation. He said, I got to introduce you to this guy. The guy comes over, he's got a backpack on, he's about 18 years old, and it's Jalen Hurts. And he says, Coach, this is a guy you need to know. And he's proven that to be true. When older draft eligible guys respect you as a young guy, they know that you not only have the talent, but you have the approach that they'll introduce you to a guy like me. I'm not surprised when I see him again, or I see him again routinely playing really good football. I've used that tactic over the years, and the guys that I've been introduced to have always been unique players. I remember talking to Cam Hayward at his pro day and wanting him to introduce me to someone, and he introduced me to Ryan Shazier, who was 18 years old at the time. And so that's been an interesting kind of project for me. I think about Jalen often when I think about that because of what Mink thought about him as a young guy, and his decision making, his competitiveness, his talents, his leadership, all of that make him what he is, and why he's respected not only by those in Philadelphia, but his college teammates in 2 different cities. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the quality work that he did in Oklahoma as well.
Yeah, no question. Last week he had a 35-yard run, so if he has to, he still can do that. Let's switch it over to the defensive side because they have playmakers everywhere. Defensive line on out. They have 2 guys, rookies in their secondary, Cooper DeJean and Mitchell, both of them I'm sure you're familiar with. I mean, it's a complete defense. How do you try to strategize against it?
Starting up front, they've always been a dynamic rush group. They invest in the front the way that we invest in the front. They got some talented young people. Got a bunch of Georgia boys in that group, but I imagine there's a lot of teams in the NFL that's got a bunch of Georgia boys these days. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about their linebacker tandem. Nakobe Dean, another Georgia boy, and Bond, a Wisconsin man, they're playing really good football. Both are super instinctual, highly productive, make a lot of plays in the running game, in the passing game, good tacklers, good blitzers. The secondary is getting a lot of credit because they got dynamic young people. The front always gets a lot of recognition because of their talent acquisition there. And so I just wanted to pause and mention those second-level guys because they're a big catalyst for what's going on positively within that group, although they don't get a lot of headlines.
Jalen Carter's a guy who gets a lot of tackles for losses. He's in the backfield a lot. Is there a scheme that you can take to kind of move him out of the game or at least make him less effective? You
know, he's a talented guy. Those talented interior players, most of the time, if you want to minimize them, it requires 4 hands. You know, we got a dynamic guy and have for a long time on the interior. Old number 97, he sees about 4 hands just about every snap. And so, you know, when you have guys on your team that are dynamic, you learn how to practice against that. If we want to have a good training camp day running the football, we better put 4 hands on Cam Hayward. If we want to have a good passing day in a training camp-like setting, we better do some things to minimize the edge presence of TJ. And I think those lessons that you learn in team development really position you to deal with the unique players that you see week in and week out in the NFL.
A lot of people around here regard this as the Battle of Pennsylvania. I know wins are important no matter where they come by. Do you at all look at that and say, man, this is a bragging right for the state?
I buy into it, man. This is the Pennsylvania State Championship. We represent the Whippeal. And as far as I'm concerned, we could play this game in Breezewood. Be happy. We could clear out a parking lot, lay some turf down, and play it in Breezewood, man. I just appreciate rivalries and competition. And when you're playing a regional game like this one, particularly in the state of Pennsylvania, man, where football is held in high regard, I'm excited about being a part of it. I'm excited about representing the Whips and heading east, man, and showing them that we play ball here on the west side of the state.
Western PA's done well over there in recent years, so hopefully that'll continue. All right, when we come back, it's time for Coach Tomlin's Keys to the Game. Missy, we'll check you out shortly.
All right, thanks, guys. And Sunday will mark the start of a tough stretch for the Steelers as they will play 3 games in 11 days against teams with a combined record of 31-8. Coming your way next is Merrill with this week's Playbook. He examines how the Eagles have the league's #1 rushing offense this season. Now it's time for a Yins Chat predictive question. Will TJ Watt have over or under 1.5 sacks against the Eagles? Just head to the Steelers mobile app and answer for a chance to win a jersey signed by number 90. And remember to play every week for a chance at new prizes and a chance at a VIP trip to the 2025 draft in Green Bay. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
When someone says Eagles offense, you probably immediately think of Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. It's hard not to when that team is averaging over 190 rushing yards per game. But as QBs and running backs always say, it starts with the big men up front. Here's more from Merrill Hodge on how Philly's O-line is leading the charge.
Hi everyone, welcome to UPMC Rooney Sports Complex for the Acrisure Playbook. All right, the Philadelphia Eagles are one of the best teams in football for a reason. They have one of the best runners in football. He's the purest runner. Their offensive line is outstanding, and they work well together. Their offensive line adjusts to the line of scrimmage extremely well, and their running back complements that. And I'm going to show you a couple plays and illustrate what the Steelers are going to deal with and ways they can go about trying to handle it and neutralize it. So on this very first play, Saquon's going to run an inside zone. And on the inside zone, we'll walk through the blocking schemes and what the runner is looking for. So the blocking assignments will start left to right. The tackle and guard are going to work up on the tackle up to the stack backer. So they're going to combo there to the stack backer. The center and the right guard are going to work on that tackle to the stack backer to the right. 65 works out to number 8. And the backside here is going to get cut off by the tight end. But really what Saquon is trying to do is press both of those double team blocks. Where you're going to see when we snap the ball, the Rams actually do some things I think the Steelers will do. They just don't do it very effectively. You try to create confusion with the offensive line by walking up to the line of scrimmage and making them adjust. Well, as you can see, as the linebacker comes up, they do a beautiful job of executing that. They get both guys accounted for. Now, the runner, Saquon, does a really good job. All he has now is one double team block left. So he does a great job. What does he do? He hugs that because from a runner's perspective, you can trust the double team. Individual blocks, they're more skeptical. So that's why a good runner will hug the double team and press the hole. Now, he does have to make the safety who's dropping into the box miss, but that's not a problem with Saquon. He can do that. But what he does is he complements the blocking extremely well. They've adjusted right off the bat extremely well, and you end up getting chunks yards. I mean, he's dynamic laterally and vertically. It doesn't matter which way he's going. Make a lot of people miss. Now, this next play is going to be an outside zone. Now, we're going to walk through this. This is a little more complicated blocking because you got more people here. But let's walk how the blocking assignments are going to go. They throw this motion across the field. Number 89 is going to come to the backside, and he's going to cut off the safety. The tight end, number 88 to that side, he's going to cut off that outside linebacker. Now, it's an outside zone, so it's going to the right. So 65 is actually going to work out to the outside linebacker, and then right guard, center, they're going to work to the tackle over the right guard to the linebacker who's creeping up. And then what you have is 51 and 69 working from the tackle to the stack backer. Now, Saquon's going to try to threaten this to the outside, but I want you to watch how the offensive line adjusts right as they snap the ball and how they go about getting to their blocks and how well Saquon goes about adjusting. So you can see how everybody's adjusted based on how the linebackers attack the line of scrimmage. Now Saquon knows I'm going to hug the double team with 51. I'm going to press that hole because 91 has made it hard for me to get to the outside, so I probably won't get there. And I'm going to have to make somebody miss possibly, which is not going to be a problem once he gets into the secondary. Well, they adjust well, and he sees the lane and he hits it. And he makes a safety miss on the back end, and it's over. That is the difficulties of this team. So when you look at this matchup, one of the key components for the Steelers defense, win at the line of scrimmage, create confusion with their blockers, and get as many people as you can to the ball once Saquon has it.
And you can watch all of Merrill's playbooks on the team's official YouTube page. Well, the Steelers haven't won in Philadelphia since before Chuck Noll was Pittsburgh's head coach. Their last victory in Philly was in 1965. And for more on how the Steelers can break their 10-game losing streak on the road to the Eagles, let's send it back to Bob and Coach. It's time for the Keys to the Game, presented by your neighborhood Ford store. Bob.
Missy, thank you very much. Mike Tomlin is here. Let's talk about Philadelphia's defense. Pretty stout all the way. What's the key to kind of getting into the red zone and then scoring into the red zone?
You know, first you better possess the ball. Vic Fangio is a veteran coordinator. Not only did he do a nice job of minimizing yards and keeping the score down, but they do a nice job of taking the ball away historically. And so ball possession is number one for us, and then opportunities within the red area we got to capitalize on. That's been an emphasis for us since the mini bye. We've seen the fruit of that focus and that labor. It needs to continue for us, not only to get out of the stadium this weekend with the required victory, but just in general, as you push through December and into January ball as the road gets narrow, your ability to seize 7 points when given an opportunity is significant in terms of defining your offensive unit and your football team. By the same token, on the other side of the ball, we know Philadelphia does a real nice job of excelling in short yardage, their push play being their signature. We got to win some of those moments. We got to make them guys settle for 3. We can't allow their red zone trips to produce 7. And to me, you know, when it's good on good, that execution in those weighty moments really position you to finish football games. All
right, Coach, thanks. WPIAL will be waiting for this outcome. Thanks. That's going to do it. The Battle of the Keystone State is coming up this weekend. It's a big one for both teams, 10-3 versus 11-2. Steelers try to get to that 11-win mark. And that's going to wrap it up for our program. For Missy Matthews and head coach Mike Tomlin, I'm Bob Pompeani. Thanks for joining us on the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. We'll see you again next week.